A homestead kitchen looks like this. It's just things drying, harvested, processing. Oh my, it's a lot.
Hi, welcome to Scofield Farm. Today I am in the kitchen and I am making our staple for the fall winter season, elderberry syrup. Lots of people have asked me recently for more videos on cooking, how we use things that we grow, and also I've showed you some different preserving methods we do. We also do just some more like holistic, whole food, natural wellness and prevention for our bodies, and elderberry is one of those things. I've made elderberry syrup for about, my goodness, I think about 16 years. And before that, we were buying it from a local natural grocers by the recommendation of a friend, and it helped my kids so much with getting over colds, flus. They even had RSV about 16 years ago, and it helped us so much that I want to share it with you, just kind of show you the process of what we do, because I am getting ready to make a bunch to sell locally, and I'm actually trying to buy a plane ticket to go visit my son. We moved our oldest son down to school in Southern California this last weekend. He's a transfer student studying engineering, super cool adventure, but I am ready to go visit him already. So I've been looking at plane tickets, figuring out ways to get a little extra money together, and I have sold elderberry, my extras, for years, just to kind of pay for the cost of my family making it for ourselves. And once in a while, I've sold a little bit extra to also pay for other little things. So I thought, why not? I haven't listed it for, gosh, quite a long time to friends and family. And so I'm gonna do it today. Now, it's really simple. All it takes is, let me show you the ingredients. So the first ingredient is elderberries. I use dried elderberries. I have bought them several different places online organically for years. As I said, I've even bought them sometimes in the past in bulk, like 25 pounds, and split them with other local people. I'm pretty well stocked right now, but that is the key ingredient. I use elderberries, I use filtered water, I use fresh chopped ginger, I use cinnamon. Okay, the kind of cinnamon we use is real cinnamon. It's called Ceylon cinnamon, if I'm saying it right or wrong. It's actually not the one that you usually see on grocery store shelves. It's a lot more expensive. However, I buy it like in a pound bag. It has all the health benefits of cinnamon, things that are like good for your blood pressure and all different kinds of things. That is like more of a health food supplement, and so it has the wonderful flavor of cinnamon, but I use it mostly for its health properties for our family. I also use local honey, which is pretty cool. We have our own local honey because we keep bees. We've been beekeepers for the last 2.5 years, but this one got kind of firm. All you do if your honey gets firm is you actually just put it in like a warm bowl of water and it gets it all liquidy again. I also use whole cloves. Whole cloves are really good. There's so many health benefits to them as well. One thing is you can like chew on a clove for a toothache. Now that is not what I'm recommending it for, but adding some of these different herbs and spices, they all have things that they add to the syrup. It's not just the elderberries that are good for you. There's so many parts that are so good for your body, and they kind of like blend together and get your body strong, so that in a time where people are often getting sick, it can be a preventative to hopefully have your body's immune system strong enough to fight things off itself. It's not that these things are healing. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a healthcare professional, I'm not trying to prescribe any kind of medicine. We just like to use real food to strengthen our bodies and give our bodies the fuel that they need for all the different times and seasons of life. So, as I said, I'm just sharing what we do. If you want to do it too, I love to show how simple things are, but again, I am not recommending anything specifically for any illness. We just love to have our bodies strong so that they can fight off and get over anything that comes our way. The last ingredient I like to use is actually raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. That is like what I call my secret ingredient. A lot of different people's recipes don't use that. But 16 years ago, when my boys had RSV bad enough to be hospitalized, a couple of them, actually one of them was 2 months old, And we had to get on all sorts of inhalers, steroids, all of that kind of stuff. And I didn't want my boys on this stuff long-term. Everyone knows there are risks with long-term use of steroids. So I did tons of research of what could help them with thick phlegm and inflammation in a more natural way, and maybe wean them off some of those things. And one thing I came across that was, used for hundreds, even thousands of years is apple cider vinegar in the raw, unfiltered state with like the mother in it. If you don't know what a mother is, it's like a SCOBY, similar to a SCOBY that would be in kombucha. It has lots of probiotic type qualities. It's raw. It has a lot of the really good stuff that comes from the apples, basically fermented into a vinegar, but it is a probiotic rich vinegar. So we've used that in so many, many things. There's so many great benefits of apple cider vinegar. You can even use it as like a hair rinse. You can use it as a toner for your skin. There are so many things, but that is my key ingredient in my elderberry that a lot of people don't use. It gives it a little bit of a tang, but there's some pretty cool things. One thing is it actually naturally gives it a longer shelf life per se, because it will slowly ferment it, because apple cider vinegar can be kept on a shelf. Now, I don't store mine on the shelf. I store my elderberry syrup in the fridge, but a fridge just basically slows down a decomposing type of thing that happens to all food. If a food is fermented and it's put in the fridge, instead of going bad, and going rancid, it will actually ferment more and more, and the fridge can slow down the fermentation process. But it actually can be stored a really, really, really long time, as long as it is not contaminated with other food products. So that is one reason we do it. And then the health benefits of apple cider vinegar are they're really good. You're gonna have to look into it. As I said, I'm not gonna go all into all the stuff, but it is so good. I've seen a lot of help for my family, and we do like the little bit of tang that is, balanced with the sweetness of the honey. Okay, we're gonna get started. It's really simple. My recipe, I will put in the description below, but basically you can do it at any, multiply it by 2, by 4, and the cooking part, I kind of do my own way. It's not like a precise exact measurement, but I'll tell you how I kind of figure if it's been cooked long enough. So as I said, I'm gonna make a larger batch because I'm making it for our own family. I'm making some to sell because I found a great deal on a plane ticket to go see my son, and I figured maybe visiting him halfway between when we dropped him down there, 600 miles away. We live in Northern California. He's going to school in Southern California. California is a huge state. Lots of states. You can't travel 600 miles and still be in the same state. And actually in California, you can travel 800 miles and still be in the same state. So it's far. It's not something that, you can just drive up for the weekend. Even though when I went to school in Southern California, one weekend, I drove up to surprise my dad for his birthday. And my sister and I were talking. We think we may have been driving almost as long as we were in town to see my parents. That was crazy. We got no sleep, but that's what you do when you're 19, 20, is you can do things you can't do in your mid-40s quite as well. So I'm gonna fly, but I wanna go see him in between Thanksgiving and when we dropped him off. If you've been around here for long, you know I have 7 kids. We homestead in Northern California. We keep chickens and bees, hence the honey. And we have lots of fruit trees that are young. We planted almost all of them. And we also have a large garden. So the ginger is actually what I grew in my kitchen herb garden outside our door. The honey is what I harvested from our bees. A lot of the other stuff is not from what we grew, but we always like to incorporate something that we grew if we can. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do mine. I'm not gonna tell you the actual amounts because you can see that later because I'm making such a huge batch. So I'm gonna kind of count in my head as I do this. All right, that looks pretty good. This is a pretty large stock pot, but it will serve my needs for how much I'm making. we have filtered water from our fridge. And so sometimes I use these jars. This was the idea of my husband because they have the markings on the side where it says how many cups or how many ounces, how many milliliters they are. And so this 3.5 cup mark is an important mark for me. And I'm going to keep filling it to that mark because that's kind of like the measurement incremental thing that I do for water. And I'm gonna put several of these in for the size batch I'm making. Now, I definitely don't have enough fresh ginger right now, but I'm going to put in what I can fresh, and then I'm gonna use organic ground. For the rest, you can do ground instead. I just love that we grow it, and I like to use the fresh stuff, so that's what I'm gonna use first. I'm not going to put quite the equivalent ground because ground seems to be a little bit stronger. Oopsie. All right. Next I use cloves. They are definitely more intense, so you don't ever put as much cloves as you put cinnamon or ginger in. And if you overdo them, they are really bitter. So don't overdo them. They're really good though. I'm gonna add the cinnamon. And I'm gonna give this a little stir, and then I'm gonna put it on the stove top, and we are going to cook it. What I'll do is I'll bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer, and then I let it simmer. I put a timer on. I do not cover it. I actually will turn on the little exhaust fan, let it simmer away, and then I will check it, and I'm looking for the liquid line to go down a certain level, and I know that's not very scientific, but it helps me kind of know, okay, I think that's about where I want it. I usually make it in a different pot than this one. I usually make it in the pot we have that's one size lower, and so it's a little easier for me to know that looks about right. But I'm going to try this, I'll eyeball it and see about how much needs to kind of evaporate and syrupify. Is that a word? I don't know, but I'm gonna see how it goes so that I can turn it off, and then we will cool it enough to kind of mash the berries through a sieve, strain it, and then I will add the honey, and I will add the apple cider vinegar, and it will be that simple. I'll put it in jars, put it in the fridge, and it's good to go. All right, we'll turn on high, and then I'm gonna keep an eye on it so that we don't want it to boil away. We just want a low simmer, that's all. We don't want crazy, rapid boiling. Just bring it to the boil, get it to a simmer. Now you can see how I have my honey sitting in this little tray with warm water, and it is already getting soft again. Honey may get thick, almost spoonable, like even pulling it out with a fork when it's sat for a while, but honey does not go bad. And I want you to know that honey does not go bad. So repeat that with me, honey does not go bad. My local beekeeping club, there was someone who was invited over to, I don't even remember why, maybe it was like a swarm rescue, but someone gave them a jar of honey that was from their grandparents that used to keep bees. And I want to say the jar, maybe it was his great-grandparents, but the jar was like 80 years old. Honey was 80 years old. He brought it to the meeting. We got to look at it. It crystallized, just like that's what you call it when this honey gets thick, but it wasn't bad. That is incredible to me. I know a friend who got really nice honey, and after a couple years, she thought, oh, this must have gone bad. She just tossed it. There was nothing wrong with the honey. It's because the honey had become thick and like a solid, and she didn't know. That's kind of one of the ways it preserves itself. All you do is put it in like a bowl or tray of warm water, and it will be, you know, pourable again and malleable again. You can see in the top of this jar, it is more the solid state.
And the bottom that's been in the water, see how it looks more the liquid state? It's actually getting a little bit darker. It's a little bit lighter on top just because it was last year's harvest, not because anything is wrong with it. And you can also tell that my kids don't like to get a really big spoon and go to the bottom and scrape. And so they left several jars with the bottom of honey. So I'm gonna kind of use that for this recipe. I can get the jars washed, get the shelf, make more room for the honey that we just harvested. And let me show you that process real quick while we wait on the elderberries to cook. And then I'll come back and show you how I finish up the elderberry process of actually making the syrup that we take. And I'll tell you the dosage my family likes to take, how regular we like to take it when I am doing the end process for you. Okay, let's go look at spinning the honey. We invested in a manual honey spinner and we wanted to get more honey off our frames than just the scrape and drip method. We experimented last year with putting a drill to make it a little faster and got so much more honey from the same frames. It was incredible. These are our frames that we have harvested and we actually need to get back out there and check again. And
so heavy too.
It is. Put these back on for the bees to clean up. You can already see honey dripping into the bottom. Ooh, it's gonna be so good. All right, we're just gonna scrape and spin, scrape and spin. It's gonna be a pretty fast process. As I said, the spinner actually got us a lot more honey than when we just did the scrape and drip method. Nice, it's gonna be so good.
Hold it down, girls. Hold it down.
So the cool thing about the spinner is it keeps a lot of the wax intact for the bees to reuse. And it also, look at how clean it spun that honey out. I mean, there's like none that we are missing really. Nothing's really wasted. It's amazing how every year the honey harvest actually tastes a lot different. Last year was so blackberry. This feels more like wildflower. These are the last two we're gonna spin right now. My husband is going to go out and change them out. We're gonna just replace any other frames that are capped off and ready to be spun with these that we have just spun. And that way the bees are gonna have the wax that's left as a quick way to gather more resources. We did this last year and it worked really well. Look at that, unfiltered, raw, beautiful honey. We just let it sit in a paint strainer, is that what it's called, a paint bag? And then we render the wax to use for other fun projects. So this is how it looks at a low simmer. You see some bubbles, might even be more bubbles than I like, but this is as low as this burner goes. Sometimes I move it to the back burner that goes even lower, but I don't want it any higher than that. That honestly is just a little too high. And I'm watching that line of where the liquid went up to before, and then I'm gonna try to judge by that as part of my reasoning of when I think it's done. Okay, it has been, goodness, I wanna say about an hour and a half. You can see how the level of the liquid is lower, even though you don't see active bubbling, and I did move it back to the back burner because I can control it better. It definitely has been evaporating and it has just little tiny bubbles, which I feel a little more comfortable with that. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna let it cool for a while, and then I will show you how I mash it and strain it and do all the rest. Okay, we're to our next step, which is I'm going to pour this elderberry syrup, kind of the cooked stuff, into a strainer and a bowl. And then I am going to kind of mash it down to get as much of the liquids out of the berries. And then I actually like to feed my leftover berries to my chickens. I feel like someone might comment saying that's not good. I don't know if it's good, but so far so good. We've done it for years and never had a problem. So that's what I do with it. I mean, I kind of think if it's good for us, it probably is fine for them, but I don't know for sure. So pour this over here. Let's kind of get these in here. Don't want my arm to touch the hot side of the pot. Okay, pretty much clean. I'm gonna show you what I do with this part. Okay, so I have it in a strainer and then I just kind of press on the berries to get as much liquid out as I can. This is actually very close to where the liquid already is. So it's kind of hard to press. I sometimes use a spoon. This is a wooden spoon. I sometimes use a metal spoon. Whatever I can to kind of get a good press out because these berries are holding quite a bit of liquid still. Real quick, if you enjoy these kind of videos or anything about gardening, chickens, bees, would you press the like button and even consider subscribing? If you hit the bell when you subscribe, you will actually get notifications of new videos we make. And I would love to see you around in more videos. Next, I'm gonna add the apple cider vinegar. And this stuff is amazing. Oh my gosh, this is like the thickest I've had in a long time. Woo, that is the mother. I'm gonna try not to put the mother in there, but now you can see what it looks like. Whoa, that's kind of gross, but cool too. Alrighty, that's some pretty intense apple cider vinegar. Next, we'll do the honey. I like to do the honey in this, so it's easy to push out, and I have the measurements, but it's just not as hard. Okay, next the honey, and I let it soften in the warm water, and it just pours just great now. So cool, honey does that. You can just soften it right back up, even if it's sat for a long time on your shelf. Scoop as much out as I can. Don't want to waste this liquid gold. Looks like we need a little bit more. That's about a cup. So I'm going to add more from my other jars. Now this one is a little still thick on top, so I'm just using a wooden spoon. Scoop it out and put it in. Okay, this is the easiest thing. You just push it down. It's great for peanut butter, great for honey. No, I don't sell it, but it's one of my favorite Pampered Chef little product tricks. I love to have it in my kitchen. So you will hear dinner cooking in the background, but I just am going to stir the honey in. It is kind of a slow process because it's so thick that it takes a while to melt down and to come together. Because I use raw honey, I don't want it to be too hot of liquid, So it's kind of more lukewarm liquid, and it just takes a lot of stirring. Okay, I'm going to fill these. I like to use the canning jar little funnel so I don't make an absolute disaster, though I do make a disaster sometimes. I'm gonna just ladle into my jars. So easy. Put a lid on, store in the fridge. Perfecto. Now the dosing that we like to take of our elderberry syrup when it's finished is, for a kid, I do like a half teaspoon to a teaspoon, adult a teaspoon to a tablespoon, and we do not do every day of the week. We do it preventively like every other day or on weekdays and take weekends off. It actually is more effective when it is not every day. If we are sick, then we do the same dosing, but we'll do it multiple times a day, like every few hours, until we feel better. It also is stored in the fridge. I do not store it on the counter. It is not pressure canned or water bath canned, because that would destroy the nice raw properties of the apple cider vinegar and the honey.
Thank you for joining me, and you'll have to let me know in the comments below if you make elderberry, and if not, if you want to give it a try, because it is actually very easy and very good for you, and it can help all fall and winter long. I will see you soon.